Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining today's session. I'm Adam Berezin from MSDW, and I'd like to thank our friends at Coffee and Done for providing the content today, as well as our presenter, Jessica Skinner. Jessica, thanks so much for being here. Couple of things before we get started. The first is that if you have any questions for Jessica throughout the session, please feel free to type them into the chat box, and Jessica will get back to you via email after the session ends. The second thing is we are recording the session, and we should have it up on demand on MSDW shortly after it airs. So without further delay, Jessica, I am going to turn over to you.
Thanks, Adam. Welcome, everybody. I'm really looking forward to sharing this with you today. So let's start with some context on why we're all here today. McKinsey recently looked at where AI is having the most measurable impact on revenue. In their research, marketing and sales came out on top, not IT, not operations, marketing and sales. Now, the numbers tell a compelling story. Companies using AI in their marketing are seeing an average 39% increase in revenue. Sales ROI is improving by 10 to 20%. And over a 3-year period, AI-driven companies are growing revenue at 1.5 times the rate of their peers. That's a meaningful gap, and it's growing. Throughout today's session, we'll be walking through some of the ways you can start capturing that kind of growth, with a focus on the Copilot capabilities inside D365 Customer Insights, plus a few additional tools worth having on your radar. The goal is to leave this session with a practical sense of what's available to you and where to start. So let's dive in. Here's what we're going to cover today. We'll start with audience creation and campaign execution, specifically how AI can help you move faster and reduce the manual effort that typically slows teams down. From there, we'll look at content generation and optimization, how to produce more effective marketing content without starting from scratch every time. We'll also spend some time on customer journey design, including how customer insights works in tandem with the contact center to create more connected experience across touchpoints. Then we'll get into AI-powered insights, how to surface the right information at the right time to support better decisions across your marketing organization. And we'll close with a look at agents, where they fit into the marketing workflow and how they can extend and automate the work your team is already doing. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. Let's get started. Before we get too far, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Jessica Skinner, digital lead at Coffee and Done. I've spent nearly 15 years in digital marketing with marketing automations at the core of it. In my role, I work directly with organizations using Dynamics 365 Customer Insights and Power Platform, and I help them get more out of their investment and build marketing programs that actually perform. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Coffee and Done. Coffee and Done delivers AI-ready revenue engines that fuel growth using the Microsoft ecosystem. With over 12 years as a partner with Microsoft, we go beyond traditional CRM projects by combining strategy, process, data, and AI with technology to create connected revenue systems that drive growth, velocity, and retention. Our plan, build, run framework and deep expertise in Dynamics 365, Power Platform, Azure AI, and Copilot enables companies to improve customer engagement. So I'll start us off with an overview of the AI capabilities we'll be covering in the session. Before we jump into those features, though, I want to take just a moment to talk about how to get the most out of what we're covering today. These tools are exciting, but they're also still pretty new, and like anything new, they work best when you're intentional about how you use them. Don't feel like you need to apply AI to everything. The teams having the most success are the ones who picked a specific pain point, tried a tool that fit, and built from there. And your team's judgment still matters a lot. Think of these tools as really capable assistants. They do the heavy lifting, but you're still the one reviewing and deciding what goes out the door. Okay, so with that, let's dive into our AI tools. Beginning with Agents and Copilot Studio. Agent is a word you're beginning to hear more and more. Multi-turn conversations and autonomously decide what action to take based on context and instructions that you define. Agents can answer questions, perform tasks, connect to your data sources, and hand off to a human when needed. Microsoft agents can be deployed across websites, mobile apps, Microsoft Teams, and any channel supported by Azure Bot Service. And by now, we've all heard of Copilot, but maybe not Copilot Studio. At its core, Copilot Studio is a low-code graphical tool for building AI agents. And when I say low-code, I mean it. You can just describe what you want your agent to do in plain language, and Copilot Studio generates the name, instructions, suggested knowledge sources, and tools for you. No data scientists and no developers required. Now, there are a couple of ways that agents are relevant to what we're covering today. First, as a standalone capability. You can build agents that support your customers or employees, reducing support overhead and improving response times. Second, as part of conversational journeys, which we'll cover in a use case shortly, where agents built in Copilot Studio are embedded directly into a marketing journey to proactively engage customers at scale. The key takeaway here is that this is readily accessible to marketing and operations teams. You don't need to hand this off to IT. If you can describe what you want the agent to do, you can build it. Now, let's also take a moment to review what's available to you natively inside D365 Customer Insights today. First, the Content Ideas Copilot and Content Rewrite Copilots. These sit directly inside your email editor and can generate or rewrite content for you on the spot. No switching tools, no copy or pasting from somewhere else. Second, the Smart Recommendation Copilot. When you're building emails, it surfaces relevant images from your own library based on the context of your content. Third, Query Assist Copilot. The idea here is that you can describe your audience in plain language rather than building segments manually, like using filters and logic rules. We'll talk through where it works well and where to set some realistic expectations. Fourth is the Journey Creation Agent. Similarly, rather than manually mapping out a journey step by step, you can describe your objective and it drafts the journey structure for you. Fifth are conversational journeys. This one brings together D365 Customer Insights, Contact Center, and Copilot Studio to proactively engage customers through intelligent two-way interactions. And finally, predictions, which use predefined models to generate insights about your data, such as churn likelihood or customer lifetime value, without needing a data science team to do it. These are the building blocks we'll be working with today, so let's start putting them into practice. We have 5 use cases to cover today, and each one is built around a specific part of the marketing workflow where these tools can have a tangible impact on revenue. We'll look at each one through a practical lens, what that tool does, how it fits into a real scenario, and what the outcome looks like. And where there are limitations or things to watch out for, I'll call those out too. So our first use case is one that practically every marketing team can relate to. This is the time it takes to go from a campaign idea to something actually running in the system. Think about a typical scenario. Your team identifies an opportunity. Maybe you want to re-engage customers who've gone quiet or follow up with a group that attended a recent event. The idea is straightforward, but by the time you've manually built the segment, mapped out the journey, configured each step, set up the branching logic, and reviewed everything, hours have passed, sometimes days. This is where Query Assist and the Journey Creation Agent can help you move faster. With Query Assist, instead of navigating through filters and data relationships to build your segment, you describe it in plain language, something like contacts who attended our spring event and clicked an email in the last 30 days. The Copilot interprets that and suggests a segment structure for you to review and apply. Once your audience is defined, the journey creation agent takes over for your journey build. You describe your goal conversationally, something like send a re-engagement email to this segment, follow up with an SMS after 3 days if they haven't clicked. And the agent's going to scaffold that full journey structure for you, including timing and branching logic. It draws on existing segments, emails, and SMS content too. So you review the proposed journey, refine it if you need, and publish when you're ready. The key here is that nothing goes live until you push it through. The combined effect of these tools is powerful. What might have taken a marketing ops specialist several hours to configure can be roughed out in a fraction of the time. And that frees your team up to focus on strategy and content rather than system configuration. So let's take a quick peek at both of these in action. Here is the Query Assistant CI journeys. You'll see the user enters a natural language description of their segment. Then Copilot will analyze the prompt and provide some potential queries for your segment. It's worth noting that this feature is still maturing, so it works well with more straightforward segment definitions, and you can rate those outputs with a thumbs up or thumbs down to train the tool. It may take some time for the tool to learn your unique data models, though. As with any generative AI, you'll want to review the content very carefully before using it. But for the right scenarios, it can reduce time spent on segment setup, especially for users who don't have deep knowledge of your data models. Let's take a look at the journey creation agent now. Okay, so full transparency, the journey creation agent is in preview and very new. Now, the agent is designed to streamline building journeys by integrating segments, emails, events, triggers, and templates. You'll see here that the experience allows users to reference those components directly in prompts. The agent attempts to find those referenced items, and if it cannot, it presents options for the user to select. The agent also allows users to review and tweak the generated journey before publishing so that it ensures accuracy and flexibility for you. Given this is a new feature, it will likely take some trial and error to get it working optimally for your team. The potential is there though, and when working as intended, it could be a game changer for the everyday marketer. So again, both of these tools aren't meant to replace your team or do everything for you. Instead, they provide an edge. The revenue connection here is straightforward too. Faster campaign execution means more campaigns are running, you have more timely outreach, and fewer opportunities are sitting on the shelf waiting for someone to have bandwidth for them. All right, let's go on. So our second use case is about one of the most time-consuming parts of any marketing operation, creating email content. Specifically, how AI can help your team move from a blank page to a polished, on-brand email faster without sacrificing quality. Let's set the scene. Your team needs to send a promotional email. Someone has to write the copy, someone has to find the right image, and inevitably, there are rounds of back and forth before anything gets approved. For high-volume teams running multiple campaigns, this process doesn't just slow things down, it creates a bottleneck, and that can limit how much you actually get out the door. The content ideas and content rewrite copilots address the copy side of that problem. And here's a capability worth highlighting. If your organization has at least 20 live or ready to send emails in the system, Copilot can analyze those and use them to generate ideas that are more aligned with your existing voice and messaging. So this isn't just generic AI output, it's informed by what your organization has already produced. And on that same note, you want to make sure that this content is learning from the best of the best. Copilot needs to know what good should look like. Now, on the image side, the Smart Recommendation Copilot, which is currently in preview, removes the friction of hunting through your asset library. When you're building an email, Copilot automatically analyzes your content and surfaces a curated selection of images from your library that it determines are the best fit. Rather than browsing and searching manually, you're just presented with a short list of contextually relevant options to choose from. Again, This isn't meant to create all your emails for you, but it's meant to help get you going and give you inspiration that you might be lacking in the moment and help you speed up that process. Together, two capabilities address what is the slowest part of campaign production, and the revenue impact is both direct and compounding. Faster content production means your team can run more campaigns, respond more quickly to market moments, and maintain consistent quality even as volume increases. So let's review how these features work in the system. First, the Content Ideas Copilot, and I like to think of this as a brainstorming partner, especially when you're going through writer's block. Rather than starting with your blank email editor, you can give Copilot a short list of key points and select a tone of voice. From there, it generates a full range of content options, and you can use those as your starting point, or maybe refine them, or just kind of get some ideas rolling, draw some inspiration. From there, you can go through these options, and if you don't like them, you can ask Copilot to generate more. You can adjust your key points, adjust the tone, and try something different. One of my tips is to take advantage of the feedback options. So give those pieces of copy a thumbs up or thumbs down. This is really going to help give feedback to the tool and help it improve over time. Once you find something that works as a good starting point for you, you can bring that content directly into your draft and refine it from there. So again, this doesn't have to hit the nail on the head, but maybe it's enough to get your creative juices flowing or enough for you to get started. And if you're not getting exactly what you want from Copilot, there are other tools out there like Claude or ChatGPT you can use to draw inspiration from. Now, just a couple of things to be mindful of. Like any generative AI, you're going to want to check it for accuracy, and you're going to want to make sure the content makes sense. And another pro tip here, if your copy contains any kind of dynamic content, like a first name or company name, you'll want to make sure that you connect the personalization correctly when you pull it into your draft. Okay, let's say you had an email perform very well. The messaging was spot on, and you want to replicate that success. This is where the Content Rewrite Copilot can help you repurpose that content, but in a new way. So with your guidance, Rewrite can adjust the tone and even shorten or lengthen that content. Just like the Content Ideas Copilot, you can review and rate several outputs until you find something that you want to use in your draft. And all of this input helps the tool get better. So from there, it's just a bit of refining as needed. And here's the Smart Recommendation tool. It uses a combination of metadata tags like names or alt text, and it also looks at usage patterns and engagement tied to emails using those assets. With that in mind, here are some best practices for organizing and tagging images in the asset library to optimize the Smart Recommendation. First, avoid generic names like image 1, image 2, and the like. Instead, use a structured naming convention that includes information like the brand, campaign, asset type, audience, or use case and a descriptor. This is going to help the system with semantic matching and surfacing the contextually similar images. When it comes to tags, I recommend defining some controlled categories or groups. This could be around things like the content type, audience or persona, or campaign theme. And use more than one tag to give the AI more signals to match assets correctly. Bonus points if you can create a tag for high-performing assets and periodically review the library so that you can identify those high-performing assets that were high CTR emails and part of high-converting journeys. Next, make sure you're adding alt text to each image you save, not just for accessibility reasons, but because this will also help the AI with content matching and cross-language recommendations. And finally, if you can avoid it, try not to upload the same image multiple times. This can weaken your recommendations. So if possible, be sure to audit and clean the library up periodically. All right, let's go on to our next example. The third use case is a bit different from the first two because it's not just about making your team more efficient, it's about creating a customer experience that simply wasn't practical before AI. So think about the moments in a customer relationship where timing is everything. That could be things like a delivery that needs to be confirmed, a renewal coming up, a service disruption that's affecting a certain group of customers, or maybe a promotional offer that expires soon. In each of these situations, reaching out and proactively doing so is a way that allows the customer to respond and take action. And that can be the difference between a retained customer and a lost one. So traditionally, that kind of outreach required either a significant contact center investment or some very manual campaign coordination, neither which scales very well. Conversational journeys change that, and they do so by bringing together three things: Dynamics 365 customer insights for the journey logic and audience targeting, D365 contact center for the communication infrastructure, and AI agents built in Copilot Studio to handle the conversation. The result is a system that can reach out to customers proactively via voice call or SMS, and it engages them in a real natural language conversation handled by an AI agent. A few things worth highlighting about how this works. So first, the entire solution can be built without code, including the AI agent itself, which is defined using natural language in Copilot Studio. Second, the journey logic controls who gets contacted, when, and what happens based on how they respond. If a customer asks to speak with a person, or if the AI agent can't handle the request, that system can transfer them to a human agent in the contact center. Then third, consent management and quiet time settings are built in. So you're contacting customers on their terms and within regulatory requirements. The revenue connection here is twofold. Proactive outreach reduces the cost and friction of customer service, which means fewer inbound calls and faster resolutions. And on the revenue side, it opens up a scalable channel for confirmation-based conversions, renewals, and timely promotional outreach that would otherwise require significant manual effort or go unmade entirely. Before we go on to the next use case, I want to take a moment to be transparent about what it takes to get conversational journeys up and running, because it's a bit more involved than the others we've covered today. So first, there are three licensing pieces to be aware of. First is Dynamics 365 Customer Insights, which most of you likely already have. The second is Dynamics 365 Contact Center, and this is a separate license if it's not already in your environment, and it's required since it provides the voice and SMS infrastructure that the journeys run through. The third is Copilot Studio, which you'll want to see if you have. You'll need this if an AI agent is going to handle your conversations. If you'd rather route customers directly to human agents in Contact Center, Copilot isn't necessary. Then on the technical side, there are two things worth flagging. First, Customer Insights and Contact Center needs to be in the same Dataverse environment. They can't be in separate instances. And second, this one sometimes catches people off guard. Even though Customer Insights has its own SMS channel, Conversational Journeys doesn't use that. The SMS for this feature runs through the channel configured inside of the contact center, so make sure that that's accounted for in your setup. And another note on licensing, each contact you reach through a conversational voice call or SMS counts as an interacted person in your Customer Insights license. And each conversation request counts as one interaction. So it's worth factoring those numbers into your estimates before you scope the rollout. None of this should be a barrier. It's just worth going in with eyes open so that the right stakeholders can be involved early. So once you have the prerequisites ready to go, this is what we'll see in CI journeys. First, be sure that you enable the contact center integration feature switch. This is going to be in your CI journeys settings. And once that's on, that's when you'll see the AI-powered conversation action tiles for either voice or text appear in your journey action menu. In this example, a text message to confirm an appointment is selected. Following that, branches are set up based on the outcome of the conversation. If the conversation is successful, the customer will flow down the success branch and receive a confirmation email. If contact is not made with the customer, they'll receive an email reminding them that they need to confirm their appointment. So there's a few steps to get up and running with these types of journeys, but once you do, you're really off to the races. Okay, our fourth use case shifts from execution to intelligence, specifically how you can use the data you already have in customer insights to predict what your customers are likely to do next and act on it before it happens. Most organizations are sitting on a significant amount of customer data, things like purchase history, subscription activity, feedback, and engagement patterns. This is where a customer data platform like Customer Insights Data can help by capturing that disparate data and creating a 360-degree profile of your customers. But even with a CDP in place, the challenge has always been turning that data into forward-looking insight without needing a dedicated data science team to build and maintain models. That's exactly what the predictions capability in CI data is designed to address. So there are 5 out-of-the-box prediction models available, and each one addresses a different revenue-related question your business might be asking. The first is customer lifetime value. This model predicts the potential future revenue of individual customers based on their interaction history with your business. It's useful for prioritizing where to invest marketing spend and which customers warrant a higher touch approach. The second is product recommendation. This uses purchase behavior and patterns from similar customers to suggest the most relevant products for each individual. Think of it as like a scalable, data-driven way to drive cross-sell and upsell without requiring a merchandising team to manually curate recommendations. The third and fourth are churn models, one for subscription-based relationships and one for transactional ones. The subscription churn model predicts whether a customer is at risk of canceling a subscription, while the transactional churn model predicts whether a customer is likely to stop purchasing within a given time frame. Both give you the ability to identify your at-risk customers and intervene before that relationship deteriorates. And the fifth is sentiment analysis. This analyzes customer feedback to overall sentiment trends and surface the specific aspects of your business that are the most frequently mentioned. It's a useful tool for understanding what's driving satisfaction or dissatisfaction at scale. Now, there are a few practical points worth noting. These are all out-of-the-box models, meaning you don't need to build anything from scratch, but they do require your data to meet certain thresholds so that you produce reliable results. When it comes to data, I always like to say garbage in, garbage out. So on that note, you'll need at least 1,000 unified customer profiles, a customer ID that links across your data, and at least 12 months of historical transaction or subscription data. But really, 2 to 3 years is recommended for better accuracy. So let's take a quick peek at this one in action. Here, you'll see the models come out of the box in CI data. You can select the model you want to work with, and then the system will walk you through the rest, sort of like a wizard type setup. And again, the intention is to be able to proactively give you the insight to determine next best action and how you can really personalize that experience for your audience, right? So maybe you're looking at these thinking they sound like nice to haves, but the fact is predictive modeling can give you an edge. The revenue connection across all 5 of these models is direct. You're not just reporting on what happened, you're getting a signal about what's likely to happen next, which means your marketing and sales teams can act with precision rather than intuition. Higher value customers get more attention. At-risk customers get proactive outreach. Recommendations arrive before a customer has to go looking. And that shift from reactive to predictive is where significant revenue opportunity lives. All right, let's go on. Our final use case brings everything together, and it's probably the one with the most untapped potential for most marketing teams. So far, we've talked about using AI to build segments faster, generate content, engage customers conversationally, and predict behavior. But there's a layer that goes above all of that, and that's the operational workflows that connect those activities together. That's the handoffs, the follow-ups, the repetitive tasks that consume time without adding strategic value. This is where agents can come in. An agent in Copilot Studio isn't just a customer-facing chatbot. It's a configurable AI that can be given a set of instructions, connected to your data and systems, and be set loose to perform tasks, either in response to a trigger or as part of a larger automated flow. And the cool thing is, it can do this across the entire marketing workflow, not just at the customer touch point. Here's an example focused on content performance. Today, understanding how a campaign is performing typically means someone's carving out time to pull reports, work through the numbers, decide what needs attention, and then share findings with the team. By the time that happens, the window to make a meaningful adjustment may have already passed. The campaign has run and the audience has moved on. An agent changes the timing of that entirely. You define the benchmarks like click targets or conversion expectations, and the agent monitors your campaigns against those continuously. The moment something drifts, it doesn't just flag the metric, it surfaces a recommendation like, hey, this CTA is underperforming against comparable spends, consider testing this alternative. Or this audience segment isn't converting, here's what's different about the ones that are. The edge here is that the insight arrives when you can still change the outcome, not after the fact. The second example is one that I think will resonate with anyone who's ever sat down to plan a campaign and spent the first hour just trying to find the information before doing any actual thinking. So before a brief can be written, someone typically needs to go find past performance on a similar campaign, pull together what they know about the target audience, think through what's worked before and then what hasn't, and then start translating all of that into a document. So it's important work, but it's a significant portion of it that's retrieval, not strategy. A campaign briefing agent can handle that retrieval. When a new campaign is being planned, the agent pulls relevant historical performance data, it surfaces audience insights from customer insights data or other tools, and then it suggests content angles based on past engagement patterns. What it delivers isn't a finished brief, but it's a structured starting point populated with the context your strategists would otherwise have spent hours assembling themselves. The thinking still happens, it's just that the prep work doesn't have to. So what makes this genuinely powerful is the combination of three things. First, agents can be built in plain language. You describe what you want the agent to do, and Copilot Studio generates the structure. Second, they can connect to your existing tools and data through pre-built and custom connectors. Third, they operate continuously, not just when someone has bandwidth to manually work through a task list. The revenue impact here is compounding. Every hour your marketing team spends on operational coordination is an hour not spent on strategy, creative, or customer engagement. Agents don't replace that judgment, but they free up the capacity for it. And that's really the through line across all 5 of today's use cases. The tools we've covered aren't about replacing your marketing team. They're about removing the friction between a good idea and a live campaign, or between a customer signal and a meaningful response. That right there is where the revenue gets unlocked. All right, so that's a wrap. But before we go, I'd like to leave you with some parting thoughts. We've covered a lot of ground today, 5 use cases, a handful of tools, and a lot of ways AI can move the needle on revenue. But if you take nothing else away from today, take these 3 things. First, the opportunity is real. The data we opened with today backs that up, and the tools we talked through today are already delivering results for teams that are using them thoughtfully. Second, you don't have to do everything at once. Pick one use case that resonates with a real challenge your team is facing right now, start there, get comfortable, then expand. And third, these tools are evolving quickly. What's in preview today may be generally available in a matter of months, so it's worth revisiting what's possible on a regular basis. In terms of next steps, take a look at what you've already have licensed, and then identify where the friction is in your current marketing workflow. Then start a conversation with your team about where one of these tools can make an immediate difference. I also wanted to share some resources with you. Our marketing automation ROI calculator is another great follow-up step as you're deciding what to focus on. Next, we're proud to offer our Knowledge Hub, which is a self-guided learning portal for all things D365 customer insights. And if anything we've discussed today has struck a chord, we'd love for you to book a 30-minute consultation with us to chat. Thank you all for being here today. My hope is that you're leaving with a clearer picture of what's possible and maybe 1 or 2 ideas already forming where to start. The AI journey looks different for every organization, but the teams making progress all started the same way. They just started. So I hope today gives you the confidence to do the same.